Hey guys, Carla here. So, yesterday, Travis and I went to go see Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. So, I've been a Harry Potter fan for as long as I can remember. I was born in 1999, so the very first Harry Potter movie came out in I think 2000 or 2001. Um, so I grew up watching the movies, and then when I got old enough to fully grasp the concept of reading the books, I read them, and I'm a pretty diehard fan. I know so many facts about so many things. So, as a really big fan of the whole Harry Potter world, I can honestly say that I was super disappointed with this movie. And I got so hyped up and so excited for it because when I had seen the first one, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I saw it in the movie theater. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I thought it was amazing and that they could never do any wrong. And I thought that the next 4 installments that they announced that they were doing, I thought were going to be even greater. But everything that could go wrong in this movie pretty much went wrong. So, I'm going to explain what happened. So just to make sure that I keep myself on point, I have just like a thing up here on my phone with the plot kind of worded out. So the place that the movie starts in is it starts as it's like in 1927 is where it's all based on, but it starts showing Gellert Grindelwald being transferred back to London from New York, which is where he was being imprisoned by MACUSA. It shows him escaping, and then a guy that used to work for MACUSA, Abernathy, he kind of helps him escape and helps kill the guards that were bringing Grindelwald. And so the opening scene is literally just Grindelwald getting away, which I thought was, I guess, like, I don't know, like, I expected you'd think that something like that would be really big, and it wasn't really, and there was probably a good dozen other wizards there, so I don't know how he escaped. There was a bunch of wizards on brooms following behind the carriage. There was 2 people inside with wands pointing at him, but then it turns out it was really just Abernathy with Polyjuice, and Grindelwald had somehow gotten underneath the carriage or whatever, but it was just so stupid. He shouldn't have been able to escape, but somehow he did. And then it shows 3 months later, Newt Scamander. He's at the British Ministry of Magic trying to appeal to get his rights to travel internationally again. It was taken away because of all the stuff that happened in New York, and he was kind of involved in that. They told him that he was only allowed to travel internationally if he agreed to work alongside his brother Theseus for the Ministry of Magic, but he says no, never will he work for his brother. And they meet up with Leta Lestrange, who was, I guess, a really good friend of his when he was at Hogwarts, and he's always been, like, in love with her, which we discover in the first movie, but we discover in this movie that she is engaged to Theseus. I think that's a totally douchey move. They're trying to get Newt to help find Credence for whatever reason. It really wasn't very clear to me as to why they were trying to find Credence. I don't know if they were trying to imprison him or kill him or whatever. Newt shows up home, and then Jacob and Queenie show up, and Queenie had Jacob under a spell, and she's like, oh, we're getting married. And then Newt kind of realized that Jacob was under some sort of spell and lifted Jacob from the spell, and Jacob got like pretty upset. Because, like, obviously he definitely wants to be with her, but it's illegal for wizards to marry muggles, and Jacob's a muggle, and he just didn't want to risk Queenie's safety or freedom just to be together. So they get into an argument, and she leaves and tries to go find Tina. And Queenie kind of said to Newt that Tina had a boyfriend because there was a magazine article or a newspaper article that made it seem like Newt was engaged to Leda, but she's really engaged to Theseus, which is Newt's brother. So Tina, without any second thought or questioning anything, just assumes and gets a boyfriend, I guess, but you never ever hear anything else about this apparent boyfriend. So then Queenie leaves to go find Tina, and Newt and Jacob try to go after Queenie, and then try to go after Tina. And Tina is at like the freak show circus in Paris. It's like a traveling circus, which is where Credence is, because she's trying to find Credence to kind of help him. And Credence is there with, oh, you knew it, Nagini, which is the magical snake that is Voldemort's like little servant thing throughout the whole Harry Potter series, I guess, that first shows up in Goblet of Fire. I was super duper upset by this, not because she was played by an Asian actress. I really couldn't care less who the actress was, and the fact that people are getting all huffy puffy that this servanty kind of slave, half animal woman is played by an Asian, like they're losing their shit because they're saying it's super duper racist. Honestly, who freaking cares, because she's the one who auditioned and she's the one who accepted the role. Had she thought that it wasn't right, then she wouldn't have taken the role, so let's get over it. But had we not been told in the trailer who Nagini was, when the first mention of Nagini in the movie was just Credence walking up to her cage and saying her name. So had we not even been told in the trailer, it would have been the world's worst reveal in the entire universe of anything. So I was really pissed off by that, and that would have been one of the biggest reveals ever, was that this is Nagini, but they spoiled it. But a bunch of stuff goes wrong, and Nagini and Credence escapes because Credence wants to find his mother, or like his birth parents or whatever, to try to figure out who he really is and everything. But Tina meets this guy named Yusuf, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and he's also trying to find Credence, and so he's like, oh, well, let's help each other find Credence. So Newt and Jacob are following them, and Yusuf, I guess, made an unbreakable curse, or unbreakable vow, to kill Credence, who he thinks is his half-brother and a member of the Lestrange family, because Yusuf is also a Lestrange. He is Leda Lestrange's brother, like half-brother. So yeah, they're trying to like figure out what the fuck is going on. And Credence and Nagini, they find the nurse, which is a half-elf lady. They find the nurse that like delivered him from his like when Credence was coming out of his mom, this little elf lady took care of him and put him up for adoption. But Grimson, which is this guy that took the job over Newt taking the job for the ministry, goes and tries to kill Credence because it's now his job, but he's really secretly working for Grindelwald, so he's trying to kill him for Grindelwald. I don't know, it's some messy stuff. And then Newt and Tina try to go to the French Ministry of Magic to find documents for Credence's true identity, and they're discovered by Leda and Theseus, who are also there for ministry stuff. And then there's like this whole chase from like these weird demon cats, and then after all that they find out that the information is at the Lestrange's family tomb. So they go there and they find Yusuf there with Credence, and Lita explains that she thought that Yusuf was dead, and explains that Credence actually isn't related to them, and that Credence was the baby that Lita had swapped out. So she had her actual brother in her hands, and they were on the frickin' Titanic. So now they're fucking with true history. So they're on the Titanic. This is like a flashback, and Lita must have been like maybe 10 or 11 or 12. She has her crying brother in her hands, and she's like, oh, I just want him to shut up. So she takes this baby, swaps it with another random baby, and then the random baby was Credence, and her real freaking brother died because he drowned because of the Titanic. And then, so that just gets super duper messy, and realizes that Credence just isn't any closer to finding out who he really is. Then there's this whole Grindelwald rally thing going on at the tombs. So Grindelwald is down there. It's this giant, like, mausoleum looking kind of thing, I guess. And they're all sitting there and listening to Grindelwald yip yap. And Queenie is there, and Jacob is there, and Newt is there, and Tina is there, and a bunch of people from the British Ministry of Magic is there, so Lita's there, and Theseus is there, and yeah. So Grindelwald, so now they're in this rally, and Grindelwald is saying, oh, like, let's have freedom where we don't have to hide from the Muggles anymore, and we can live in peace and live side by side. But we all know that Grindelwald really wants to kill all the Muggles. We pretty much learned that in Deathly Hallows, the book, or Deathly Hallows Part 1 for the movie, and he just wants to get rid of anybody that's not pure blood. And then he somehow, there's like this skull thing, and it was never really explained. Like, there's just this skull thing that has like prophecies, and he shows, oh, like, this is gonna happen, and then he predicts World War II with these prophecies, and so this is all based in 1927, so the First World War has already ended, but for them it's just the war, and then so he predicts that there's gonna be another war, which for us is World War II, so there's the second thing that they're bringing in, and they're just messing with history, and he's kind of like, oh, let's prevent this from happening. So then Grindelwald is like, join us, and he's like, join my team, and like, be part of what I'm doing, because I have a better cause, and then he's like, go spread the word to everybody, we're gonna pretty much take over the world. So everyone like poofs away, and then it's left with a bunch of people, and there's like this huge circle of blue flame, and you have to walk through it, and if out of everybody that's left there, which would be Tina, Queenie, Jacob, Newt, the people from the Ministry, so Lita and Theseus, and just a few other people, and anybody who truly believes in Grindelwald's cause walks through the blue flame and is like in the circle with Grindelwald, and then shoots up to go spread the word. But if you don't actually believe in Grindelwald's thing, like there was this character, I don't remember his name, but there's this character, he walks through the blue flame and he just disintegrates because he doesn't actually truly believe in this cause. And he was just walking through the flame out of fear, trying to think that he could get away with pretending. So then Lita pops up, and she's like, oh, I'm going to be on your side, Grindelwald, but she's faking it, and she tries to attack Grindelwald and try to help everyone else escape, but clearly that doesn't work, because she's dead now. She went through the flame, it killed her, she's dead. So they literally introduced Lita Lestrange for no freaking reason, and that's just kind of the end of that. And then she kind of attacked Grindelwald to try to allow for Tina, Newt, and Jacob, and Yusuf, and Nagini and Theseus to escape, so she kind of sacrifices herself. And by this time, Credence and Queenie have walked past this blue flame, and they're like pledging their allegiance to Grindelwald, which it's super duper messy because Queenie, we all thought she would be a good guy type thing, but I don't know, she's taking Grindelwald's side, so I'm kind of curious to see what goes on with that, but there's honestly an absolute shit ton of useless characters in this movie. Nagini had only 2 lines in the entire movie. And then after Lita sacrifices herself, Grindelwald escapes, and everyone else is just kind of standing there. And the blue flame just keeps on going and going, and it's going to kill everybody. So the last remaining people, they have to put this spell on to get rid of the blue flame from killing all of Paris. And earlier on, we were introduced to Nicholas Flamel, and anyone who has watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone knows exactly who Nicholas Flamel is. He created the Philosopher's Stone, and it gives you immortality. But I was super duper upset with the fact that the person that they got to play Nicholas Flamel was a really, really, really old looking guy, and super duper fragile, and so rickety. He looked like he was just gonna snap in half at any moment if you were just to blow at him. But I don't understand why they would have an old actor for that. If you have a stone that grants you immortality, what's the point if you're an inch away from breaking every bone in your body? It just seems like a total waste. But he shows back up and it's oh, let's do the spell. So they do a spell. He's in there purely just for a cameo. He's irrelevant to the entire storyline, and it's upsetting. And then also earlier on, they showed Dumbledore at Hogwarts. Dumbledore mentioned McGonagall, Professor McGonagall, which doesn't make sense to the storyline, because with this being based in 1927, McGonagall wasn't born until I think 1936 or 35. So she wasn't born until about 10 years after this movie takes place, but she's there as an adult being a professor. So at this point, they're just throwing her in there for also a cameo, and it's just a huge piss off. But anyway, while we're at a scene at Hogwarts, it shows Dumbledore going to the Mirror of Erised, which we also know from the Philosopher's Stone. He pulls the drape off of it, and of course the Mirror of Erised shows you what your heart most desires. And it shows him and Grindelwald as young teenagers. It shows them cutting open their hand and putting their hands together. So their hands are together like this, and then their fingers interlock like this, so clearly it shows that they have some sort of romantic love for each other. And then it creates this, I don't know what I would call it, a little jewelry looking piece, but inside of it there's this little orb, and I'm describing it as a blood bond, and it's this blood bond where they're actually not allowed to kill each other. And that's why Dumbledore refuses to fight against Grindelwald, even though the Ministry is oh, kill him, kill him. And another thing that I didn't realize until after I read something is that Dumbledore and Grindelwald's relationship, like, it was only for a summer, really. They spent a summer together when Grindelwald was visiting his aunt Bathilda Bagshot in Godric's Hollow one summer, and they just fell in love. But Dumbledore knew that wasn't going to work out because he only wanted to do good things and help people, and Grindelwald wanted to do bad things and kill people. But the heart wants what the heart wants, and you can't really do much about that. But apparently it's just common knowledge that they were once romantically involved, I guess, which doesn't make sense because during the books, when it was first mentioned that they were kind of romantic with each other, it was supposed to be like this big secret. So that just kind of pisses me off. But anyway, back to the rest of it. The last scene was Newt going back to Hogwarts to meet with Dumbledore and shows him the little blood bond jewelry piece thing, and like that the Niffler somehow stole off of Grindelwald's body because Grindelwald had it in his pocket and wouldn't let it leave his side. But Newt is like, oh, I think I know what it is, and Dumbledore confirms that it is like a blood bond type thing where they're not allowed to kill each other. So that's why he just confirms that he can't actually kill Grindelwald because of this blood bond thing. But Dumbledore and Newt kind of agree that they need to find a way to break that bond because Dumbledore realizes that he needs to fight against Grindelwald, and he is probably one of the only people that can get close enough to Grindelwald to probably kill him. So I guess I am looking forward in the next few movies that I'm looking forward to them meeting face to face and seeing what might happen, but I don't know. And then, so the very, very last scene is they're at Grindelwald's, base up in the mountains of Austria. And Credence is alone in, a room, and Queenie goes up to Grindelwald and is like, oh, be careful, be gentle with him. He's very, very, I don't know, just touchy, I guess. And just, shake it up and just really hurt over everything. But, so, Grindelwald walks in, and Credence is sitting there feeding this tiny little burnt-looking baby bird, which we saw earlier on in the movie when Credence was sort of on the run with Nagini. He was feeding this tiny little bird and just carried it around everywhere with him. And Grindelwald walks up to him and says, there's this, there's this belief in your family line that a phoenix will present itself to anyone in your family in need. And then the bird turns into a phoenix. Which, just it turning into a phoenix and Grindelwald saying that should automatically tell you what's going to happen next. And so what happens, the last little bit is Grindelwald saying that Credence is really Credence's real identity is that he's a Dumbledore. The name is Aurelius. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But Grindelwald tells Credence that his true identity is Aurelius Dumbledore, Albus's brother. But here's what's wrong with that. The fact that I'm pretty sure Dumbledore's mother died in 1888, but Credence is about 18 in 1927. So you do the math and it just doesn't work because Albus's mother is dead before Credence was even born. So based off of the true timeline that has been set by J.K. Rowling, he cannot be Dumbledore's brother. And never once was it ever said that Dumbledore had more than one brother and more than one sister, which is Ariana and Aberforth. So Grindelwald is kind of trying to put it in Credence's head that the only person that is responsible for every fucked up thing that has happened to you is Albus Dumbledore. So I think it's just him trying to manipulate Credence, because Credence is just so broken that he'll believe anything. So I don't know. It just kind of ends there. It just kind of ends with Credence being told that he's a Dumbledore, but based off of the actual set timelines that we've been given, it's not possible. But looking back at the fact that McGonagall is mentioned in this movie, I feel like J.K. Rowling has just completely stopped caring about the world that she's created, and I feel like she doesn't give two shits about the fans. It's kind of depressing, really. I feel like she became big, rich, and famous, and then stopped caring about what made her big, rich, and famous. And she's just kind of digging for money. And I feel like we kind of should have expected this to be really crap, because Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, when that came out, like, I haven't seen it on stage or anything, but I bought the book. I bought the play book thing that was published. I bought that, and I was so thoroughly disappointed. Paid $40 for a book that just seemed like a published fan fiction, really. I don't know. JK's been putting out some pretty crappy stuff. So, I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion, but can't say I'm looking forward to the next 3 movies. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't actually end up happening. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. But as a diehard fan, I'm super pissed off. I don't know, I kind of feel like I wasted my time and money on this. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment your opinions, turn on post notifications. Yep. I just really want to hear what everybody else thinks on this movie, because I'm super depressed and disappointed about it. So, anyway, see you later.